What's going on, everyone? I'm Jaren, and today we're doing something a little bit different. Like, we're still doing the double feature reviews, but I'm not necessarily catching up on any other award season related movies right now. I'm really just catching up on some of the movies that I either one, missed out in 2025, or two, some that I actually had the chance to catch on streaming, but not necessarily wanted to do one entire video for one title, so we're gonna mash them together. The first movie I want to talk about is a Netflix original called The Rip, as we follow a group of Miami cops who discover a stash of millions in cash, leading to distrust as outsiders learn about the huge seizure, really questioning the team on who to rely on. Writer-director Joe Carnahan, who's responsible for some really gritty action thrillers such as Smokin' Aces, 2010's reimagining of The A-Team, and even The Grey, which was one of my favorites, he decided to tackle a Netflix original with a star-studded ensemble cast. And this star-studded ensemble cast included people like Scott Adkins, Kyle Chandler, Sasha Calle, Catalina Marino Sandino, Teyana Taylor, Steven Yeun, and of course, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. You've got everybody's attention, including myself. I wish I went in as blind as possible because while this movie is advertised as a non-stop bullet-blazing blockbuster, I do think that it's more of a bottled crime thriller. And yes, there are a few set pieces that kind of bookend the story, but the one particular location that we zero in on and spend most of the runtime is this quiet little Florida neighborhood that our team is immediately drawn into. The moment our team enters the house, I was completely locked in. I really appreciated Joe Carnahan's script and direction, as well as the cinematography, and how they did a really great job in just slowly peeling back the layers of what this setup had to offer, including utilizing the more claustrophobic spaces to build tension, or really giving the opportunity for each and every talent to shine in each of their performances. And also, one of my favorite and gripping moments of the movie had to include these long pauses and blistering exchange between Matt Damon and Steven Yeun's character while they're outside on the street. Just the way that they framed that and the way that they were just hovering their fingers above the trigger of their weapon, just whew, really suspenseful stuff. The discourse and distrust that not only occurs between the team, but particularly with Ben Affleck and Matt Damon's character was quite brilliant, because although they are best friends in real life and in this story, you are at the edge of your seat wondering that if their bond is actually genuine or if it's all a farce. And I think just having those two really butt heads was very, very nerve-wracking. And then I gotta say, probably around the 1 hour mark is when the action really started to ramp up for me, because once that bullet came right through the wall, I was really startled. I actually jumped out of my seat. Getting into my mixed to negative opinions here. Now, although we have a wonderful star-studded cast ensemble here, I did feel like that some of the characters could have been played by anybody else, because the talent that we got here just felt like they weren't utilized to the best of their abilities. I mean, take for example, Scott Adkins. I mean, I almost didn't recognize him in this movie, but he ends up playing Ben Affleck's brother, and they don't necessarily do him any justice. I mean, I was kind of hoping he was going to kick some ass at some point, but he doesn't. I mean, they could have just casted Casey Affleck instead. But, you know, it's almost like watching an Expendables movie where, you know, almost the star power doesn't necessarily justify a lot of what's going on in the story. It just feels a little bit unnecessary. One of my biggest gripes was actually brought up in a press interview where Netflix's biggest contribution to the final product was for the talent to regurgitate the plot multiple times. I mean, they assume that people, their consumers, aren't paying attention, that they're multitasking, that they're scrolling on their phones while viewing some of the content on their platform. So it's intentional for it to be simplified so you as the viewer are never lost. And I actually tested it out. I was like doom scrolling on my phone and I was not lost at all what was going on in the movie. I might have to rewatch it again, but there were countless times where you would hear the rip in various deliveries that I was just getting irritated. And when I did pay attention, I was thinking to myself, this would actually make a really good drinking game. Overall, I was actually surprised with how much I enjoyed that first half over the later half of the movie, but although I saw the reveal coming from a mile away, I really enjoyed it because it was very much reminiscent to movies like Brooklyn's Finest, Den of Thieves, Street Kings, Training Day, Triple Nine, Triple Frontier, and many more. The final act is definitely going to satisfy the action junkies, especially with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck delivering their own brand of whoop ass. Definitely not their best collaboration, but I would love to see them do more like this together. Now, the next film I want to talk to you about is the 2025 remake of Silent Night, Deadly Night, as we follow Billy, who witnessed his parents get killed by someone dressed as Santa, and later as an adult decides to don the Santa suit himself and seek violent revenge. This is the second remake to the original 1984 cult classic of the same name, and I do have fond memories of my best friend Nohea introducing this one to me, but amongst the other 80s horror classic slashers, this one didn't necessarily leave too much of a lasting impression with me. The 2012 version, on the other hand, which was called Silent Night, I know there's a lot of other movies that were called Silent Night that were of different genres, but this one in particular was kind of a mixed bag for me. I really appreciated the dark and edgier tone, but for some reason they kept all the other bystanders really campy, and they made Billy, well, so to speak, the killer Santa Claus who wore a mask and was just really quiet the entire time, didn't peep anything. And it really felt a little unbalanced. I mean, you might as well just give me a Santa Claus with attitude and have them kill everybody else with that flamethrower. Writer-director Mike P. Nelson, the filmmaker who has brought us the 2021 Wrong Turn remake, decides to take new liberties with this holiday horror feat. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I was not a fan of that new Wrong Turn movie. It was actually garbage to me. So it was kind of sad because I almost had no interest in checking out Silent Night, Deadly Night. After all the buzz with my film community and finally checking out the movie for myself, I can honestly say that this is what a quality horror remake looks like. And first off, with Rohan Campbell's role in Halloween Ends and how it didn't necessarily fare well with a lot of Michael Myers fans, I think what he brings to the character of Billy Chapman was rather multi-layered and rather interesting. There was a huge element that was not advertised, and I was not expecting it to be part of the narrative, but we really get to dissect the perspective of Billy as a survivor or as a serial killer. And then we also have Ruby Modine from Happy Death Day, who really showcases a lot of attitude and range, and she was just an absolute surprise, especially having to play the love interest to Billy. We can't forget about the death scenes because that's what you sick bastards came to see, didn't you? And I tell you, carnage candy galore. Now, I did find that some of the death scenes were going to feel a little bit formulaic and repetitive, especially with just the axe, but in a few moments they were able to find opportunities where Billy was able to get creative with his kills. There are some visual gags and references that pay homage to the original franchise, but what I really loved about this movie was how it took the familiar story of the murderous Christmas rampage and decided to turn it on its head. And from then on, the final 30 minutes really does take a hard right turn where it could easily make or break it when it came to the fans or probably newcomers of this iteration. And I was completely on board for a lot of the fun and the thrills that they had that transpired from there. Overall, this was an interesting blend of something like Dexter meets Venom, sprinkled with a little bit of frailty. I know that that sounds like a strange combination to describe this movie, but you'll know it when you see it. I would have loved a longer movie. I would have loved that if we spent a little more time fleshing out some of the reveals that we got towards the very end, but a lot of horror remakes should take note of this one. If you were at all remotely curious about checking out this contemporary vision of Silent Night, Deadly Night, I guarantee you it's one hell of a jolly good time. Well, alright guys, that's all I got to share in my double feature reviews. Go ahead and check out The Rip, which is now streaming on Netflix. We got Silent Night, Deadly Night, which is now available on digital. And if you wait just at least by February 17th, it's definitely going to hit the shelves. So thank you guys again for taking some time out of the day to hear me talk some movies. I'm Jaren Ugbanawag, and take care of yourselves. I'll see you guys at the movies.